Welcome everybody, this is How to English with Gav and Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and source materials will be referenced where possible. Hi Em.
Hello, hiya.
You right?
I'm very well.
Good. I am full of energy and I'm definitely ready to begin
Morning.
this week's episode of our podcast.
Which is called...
I think we've already said it at the beginning. We don't need to say it again.
All right.
But we do need to say the title. And the title this week is Teaching and Learning. So try again.
Start again. What?
Try again. Teaching and learning in another country.
Yeah.
Because some of our listeners may be familiar with this. Some of them may not be. You, I think, have done a bit of travelling. So you're quite familiar with teaching in other countries.
So when you say other countries, you mean another country, not your home country? Not where you were born?
I don't know. I just was thinking anywhere, really.
Well, what is it? Teaching and learning in other countries?
Yeah. Or in another country.
Teaching and learning in another country.
All right.
It's very vague.
I didn't think too hard about this title, but I thought it would be quite nice thinking about students maybe going abroad and having experiences of learning English in another country.
I see.
And also for teachers like ourselves who do travel to other countries and teach there.
Yeah.
Then
okay.
I thought you might have some interesting insights to share with the listeners.
Right, yeah. So what's the best jumping off point here?
Okay, well, let's kick off with, I'm going to say a word to you and then you discuss it.
Word
okay?
association.
Well, no, I was thinking you just talk on the topic.
All right.
The topic is paperwork. Is there a lot of paperwork when you have to teach abroad, for example, in your experience?
Well, it depends on the country. I think in my experience, it has varied to literally just sign in a contract, which I may or may not be able to read because it's not in English.
Oh, that's a good point. So you might be given a contract in a different language.
Yes, it has happened.
Wow.
And then you're just putting your faith in the company you're working for being legit and not ripping you off.
Really risky.
I don't know if I'm
that's
advising people to do that. I have done it. So obviously disclaimer.
How did it turn out for you?
It was really fine. It was
Okay,
absolutely fine. But disclaimer, I'm not advocating this.
No.
I would always recommend getting someone
Get
to
a lawyer.
Look at it. But we say get a lawyer, don't we? But do we? I mean, can we? Have we got the money for that?
I guess some people have.
Average teacher, they get a contract. So they're not going to take it.
In
to
your
a
experience, it's turned out okay.
Yeah, it's been absolutely
that
fine.
can't be the only case. You've always had these.
No, that was the most extreme. I mean, most companies will give you an English contract, I think, because they are, of course...
A contract in English?
Yes, contract in English, because, of course, that would be their kind of target market, I suppose. They want to, make sure that it's...
Or whichever language you're teaching. So I guess if you're coming from another country
I'm just talking about going for a job to teach English.
Yes.
I would expect a contract in English. Maybe that's a presumption.
Okay,
Wouldn't
and if you were teaching French, then hopefully you get one in French. If you were teaching Italian.
Hope so. I don't know how that works, actually. It would be interesting to know from other teachers of other languages how it works. But I would say, 99% of the time, I either get a contract with both language of the place I'm staying.
Sign it.
And then in English as well, or just in English.
Right, okay. That's good. And other paperwork, or is that it?
There's visas, there's registration in countries. Sometimes you're required to go to a police station or even like a council building to get officially registered.
Okay.
Some companies will send someone with you
to
help
good.
you.
That's really good. That's a good company.
That is a very good company.
Maybe you should, before you not apply for the job, maybe you could apply for the job, but then before you actually go to that country where you hope to teach, you could ask questions of the company and say, is there someone to help me with, I don't know, like, what do they call it, visa support or residency support or something? Somebody that can liaise between me and the government.
Because I mean, some countries, the government buildings have a kind of policy where they don't speak English or they don't speak other languages.
A policy not to speak English?
Well, as in they will only speak the language of that country.
Of course.
And they've got every right
you couldn't
to
expect
do that.
them to speak your language.
But we
Especially
do, don't we? I
when you're
think,
abroad.
we think English is the universal language of the world. Why don't you speak English? What's the problem here?
Okay.
And of course the problem is us.
Yeah, don't expect other people to speak your language.
So I've had to, Google Translate many things.
Oh, it's very useful.
I've had to try to use the little language of the place that I know, just the bits that I have got to be able to communicate.
Well, that's interesting because you said using your mobile phone, because then you would need a contract for your mobile phone for it to work in that country. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be roaming.
We haven't done that yet, have we? We haven't talked about mobile phone contracts. We should probably come to that.
Well, that's paperwork as well. That must be included in it.
Yeah, all that.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen council buildings where they do have a sign that says we do not speak English,
Oh,
but
wow.
then inevitably they do. So you sort of start off in the language that you're trying to speak in that country, and then inevitably they kind of just say, right, can we just get on with this, please, in English?
So if you show an effort to try and speak their language, then they might kind of
they might. Still
concede.
not a good excuse not to learn the language, which I would say, good tip, learn the language before you go.
I was going to say that, but you couldn't learn the entire language before you go.
I'm sure somebody could.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I couldn't, if that's what you mean, you. Yeah, no, I couldn't. I've tried, but...
If you suddenly decide to work in, I don't know, France, you can't suddenly learn the French language within the period before your job starts. But of course, you should try to learn
doing
a few keywords.
Very spontaneously. No, you don't have the time. But I think we're getting off the point here. Just try and learn something,
and
at
expect
least.
it to be difficult. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, and the waiting times. Some places you get like a ticket where you've got to wait, like a cheese counter in a supermarket.
Yes.
And there's just no indication of where you're going to be in the queue, and the numbers are all over the place. So I think the top record of time spent in an office trying to register in a country must be about 5 hours.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah. Other times you walk straight in, they give you whatever stamp you need or whatever, and then you walk straight out again. You just don't know.
Okay, so it's different for each country.
Yeah.
Some are worse than others. You need some sort of visa or residency documents. I guess insurance, you need to set that up for most people who work abroad.
So would you do that with the country you're living in, or would you do that with the country you've left?
That's
like
a very good question. Country? You'd have to look into it. I guess price, I mean, it could be much more expensive from your country. Oh, I don't even know. You'd have to find out.
And just be careful about whether you're covered, because I think you've had insurance, haven't you, Gav, in some countries where you thought you were covered and then you kind of weren't covered.
Yeah, they sell the kind of minimum to some foreigners, and you have to look at the
small print
to make sure that you know exactly what you're signing up for. And they might limit it to, I don't know, 1 visit to the doctors per year, or, dental treatment up to a very small amount of money. So you've got to be so careful with
because you think, I'm insured.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Yes.
But in fact, that just means they're going to give you £20 towards your really expensive dental treatment.
Yeah. And I guess that if you get something cheap, then you have to expect it to be bad quality.
Oh, is that a life lesson, Gav?
Maybe.
You get what you pay for. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
You mentioned learning a language, or learning the language. Just how important is that?
Oh, well, I think it's very important. I think it's really part of the culture. It's part of everyday life. It just makes life so much easier if you can. And I think people like it.
Yeah, locals like it.
Even if it's just like
Students
hello
like it as well.
And can I please have and thank you.
Yeah.
And that's your basic kind of
in
shop
shops,
language, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that will just really put you in good stead with the local shops and
because it's
restaurants.
lovely. It's nice to go to the local bakery and the local cafe. You're not only going to the supermarket and dropping things in the trolley. You're actually interacting with people, which is nice. And I said, and the students actually quite like it. And just occasionally you can drop a word in there. It does make them giggle. Can be quite fun.
Kind of don't like that, but
Okay.
I don't know. I don't like brownie points.
Oh, you're not one of those teachers that uses a bit of the local language?
What, in the lessons?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, well, maybe we should save that for another episode.
Well, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't do it myself.
But it's nice if students have the opportunity to go abroad and practice English in an English-speaking country, or even another country where English might be the sort of second language, then it is a good way to sort of force you into learning the language very quickly. And it's the same for teachers. As teachers travel, they're kind of forced into learning the language. And it's great to be surrounded by people who speak the language you're trying to learn.
Yeah,
so that's nice.
I agree.
So language learning is very key to travelling. Another thing would be culture, a bit of culture. You experience new things, different shaped bread buns.
Absolutely.
Sausage that you might not have found in your home
I think that's a great thing to do in lessons with students. Ask them, what's food around here? What's the best thing you can recommend?
Specialities.
What's the thing to do at night? The good pubs around, that kind of thing. Get that from students.
As an actual lesson. So you go in there and say, right, I'm planning to go out this evening, or I want to prepare a new dish this weekend. What can you recommend? And they can explain to you, give you a good recipe.
It's real, because you do get that in proper, meaningful conversation.
I love talking about culture. I love talking about the students' culture and learning new things.
Yeah, that's why I'm
give you good
doing
tips,
it.
Good tips for like where to go on holiday and that. As well.
Yeah. And I think as well, like I remember my first job teaching, and I was very green and very worried about everything. And I think it was about a couple of months into a course, and one of the students asked me for dinner, and she said, would you like to come and see my family, and I'll make you dinner. It was lovely, but I was terrified, and I just sort of mumbled something, and then after the lesson I spoke to my buddy kind of teacher mentor, and I said, this student's asked me to go to her house and I don't know what to say. And he was just like, well, what's the problem? Just do it. What are you here for otherwise? You're not here for experience. Do you not want to get into the culture and find out about people?
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I didn't really realise that. I think I was just so focused on the job. I wasn't thinking about socialising. And I went, and she cooked an amazing meal, and we had a really, really nice time. And I'm just so glad that I said yes. Yeah,
it was a real authentic experience.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
exactly.
wonderful.
And it wasn't scary at all.
You said you had a buddy.
Yes.
What's a buddy?
I think some companies offer some support there from either a senior teacher or someone in the staff who's been in the country quite a long time.
Oh, right. Okay.
They know the transport, they know how things work, the money.
Probably know things that you need to know. So as you say, how to get around, where to change money if you need to, which banks to use, so you can get your wages paid in.
It's just nice to have someone to ask questions and get a trusted answer that you know is going to be right.
Yes.
Not every place I've worked had that. It was only a couple. And it was really nice. Obviously, it's more work for them. But, it's good. And they can take you out as well to places and show you.
So you might go to a school and you might be paired up with a buddy, or they might put you into a little group of newbies, and then you'll go out for dinner or go for drinks or something, and that's a really good way to introduce you to the other people. Yeah.
Do you know about the other way, like if students go abroad, what the situation is there? Do you know how they are managed? I don't know what the word is. But
sometimes they stay with families, don't they? Sometimes they're put in a hotel, and I think the schools try to organise events. So, for example, if you're in London, they might take you for a show as a group. And so you kind of get that cultural experience as well. Or if you're with a family, then obviously you'll get that real authentic first-hand experience of spending time with foreigners from that country.
Em, would you like a coffee?
Thanks, Gav, but you know I only drink tea.
Oh yeah, well, that could be arranged.
Oh?
Followers, if you're enjoying listening, watching or reading Gav and Em's How to English Pod, visit ko-fi.com/How to English Pod.
That's coffee, ko-fi.com/How to English Pod. and it would be lovely if you bought us a coffee or a tea to show us support, and you could even get a mention on our show if you'd like.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's like on the exchange programs or those kind of things, there's usually people trained and teachers and, I don't know, entertainment. And it's like, I'm thinking summer schools.
Oh, yeah.
They usually have a whole program planned.
True. I was thinking adults, but yeah, more like summer schools might be more for teenagers and kids.
Yeah.
And so they might have like football games or cricket or tennis or something, I don't know, group activities that are organised by the school. I don't know if all of them do that. I think some of them do.
Okay, right. So have you worked with summer schools in that way?
I have. It was a very long time ago. Yeah, with kids. Yeah. It was challenging. I was on dinner duty a lot. I remember that.
Oh.
I had to stop them from jumping the queue. Apparently some young people just don't want to queue. And also you had to stop some students from putting gravy on the desserts and custard on chips and things. But I mean, they learn from experience. They enjoy it.
Food that they've never seen before,
Exactly.
perhaps. It's just all a bit gloopy. Which one goes on which, yeah.
Exactly.
So, going from the teacher to the student side, I think it may be a bit more structured if you're going abroad as a student. Perhaps you're on a program, or you're with a family, or you're already buddied up with someone maybe. But I think for teaching, it's a complete spectrum from one extreme to the other. Like, you could be in a company where literally everything is done for you, which I think is quite common in Asia.
Oh, right, yeah.
Russia, for example, because I think it's a harder process. The bureaucracy is bigger, and you've got to go through such a lot of red tape to get the job. So the companies often do it for you, and they often pay for your flights and they pay for your accommodation.
That's amazing.
It's like a full package.
Okay.
Sometimes they give you food vouchers and all sorts of things, but then
instead of wages.
As well as, but other countries you can be literally on your own. Like you just turn up off the plane, and you've got to find accommodation yourself, and it's like dealing with estate agents yourself, or all of that, setting up everything, the bills, the internet, mobile phones. It's just up to you to do it. So just know, I think, what you're doing in which country, how it's going to be when you get there,
and make friends as quickly as possible and find out how everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, or before you go, as you said, go on a chat forum for the company. They often have like Facebook pages or whatever. True. Find out what people are doing, how you get accommodation, what the best companies are, who can recommend it. I think that's the best advice.
Yeah, I'm not sure what summer schools did this year. I think a lot of them didn't operate, or any of them
they were
did.
Probably online.
I've heard about a few that were run online. I'm not sure how successful they were. I'm really curious because I know some of the kids were talking, say, from one country, they were paired up with kids in other countries and they were all practicing English together. I think that was one thing. And
sounds nice.
Had some online lessons with teachers.
Maybe they had karaoke in the evening or something.
Maybe, yeah. I'm still maybe not as good as the real thing.
Probably not. I mean, it's very different, isn't it? I don't think you can get the same atmosphere.
No.
That's a great mix of people together, and it's all fun and summer. That's nice.
I know that you've had experience of teaching in a school, an actual complex of a school, and you were actually resident in that complex.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Safe. It was almost like a bubble
with security guards.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a gated area. The teachers were in one part, and then the students were in another part, and everybody ate at the same time in the canteen. And yeah, it was good.
So you were walking from your apartment building to your classroom, and then back again.
Yeah, and there was gym and swimming pool. And a library and whatever you wanted, it was all there. I mean, of course you could leave, it wasn't prison, but definitely outside that, I don't know, it's not really a compound. Did you say compound? I would probably say complex, you said. Okay, I was thinking compound, but outside it was very much like real life. Maybe a bit scary in some places, like you just don't know what the crime's like. You don't know if there's any sort of even things like lighting on the streets. Sometimes it can be completely dark. So, yeah, it was definitely a divide between that area and then outside.
Yeah.
But I got more confident, I think.
What was the experience like? I mean, did you enjoy being stuck in that area, or did you feel that you were a bit
It was one of my first jobs, so I think I wanted a bit of that safety and bubble-like, environment. So it worked well at the time. I don't think I could do it now, so it was right for that time. But
why not now?
I don't know. I just think it wasn't enough of the culture and the life, and I didn't feel like I was really having an experience. It could have been, it could have been anywhere, any country, apart from the weather, which was quite tropical.
I'm guessing it was quite well paid, though.
It wasn't bad.
Okay.
But that wouldn't draw me now. That wouldn't be enough of an incentive. I think there are a lot of countries where you can get a lot of money teaching English.
But it was an interesting experience.
Yes.
As you say, it's really different from just arriving in a country, walk up to the first language school you say, hi, I'm here. Have you got any work?
Yeah, and then exactly. So it was the opposite. It was hand-holding at every stage. Right. So what about you, Gav? Have you had that, as you just said, off the plane and can I have a job, please? Experience?
No, but I had a job already when I arrived, and I started in that job and I wasn't very happy with that job. So I then was looking around pretty much immediately, and then once you've established yourself, you've got an apartment, you've got a bank account, you've got your documents all in checked and everything, then it's very easy to walk into another school and just say, hi, I'm here.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of experience, or, I've been teaching a couple of years. I've got my CELTA certificate or whatever you've got. The schools are really keen to take you on.
Okay.
So,
and it helps that you've worked in that country or that city even, that you can then say, well, I've already been here 6 months and now
or 2 weeks.
Well, maybe I wouldn't say that.
Well, I don't know, some companies are just desperate to get teachers in there. They're just really keen to get classes going, and this is the thing with TEFL teaching. It's really blossoming so quickly. You can be somewhere and then you can suddenly be given 10 classes. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah.
But then, of course, the opposite could happen. You start losing classes and then you get a bit anxious. But that's the risks, the pitfalls and the excitement of it.
Okay. I think most of the time, it's better if you've got all this stuff established before you arrive, like at least accommodation
generally,
or job security.
Definitely get your documents. Make sure if you're coming from quite far away, you need to know those documents are right.
But then I've also done it where I have not been able to get accommodation outside of the country, and you have to be in that country in order to just turn up in person. And you just have to take the plunge sometimes. If there's a country you really want to live or
some
go
people
to.
They get a hotel for a week.
And I've done that.
If you can afford it, like get that hotel for a week. And then, as you say, once you're there, everything is much easier.
It is really easier, but it's also incredibly scary to think that you're leaving behind everything in order to go to a country where you don't have a job, you don't have a place to live.
Well, worse, you just get back on the plane, you go home and you start again.
That's it. What is it? Nothing ventured, nothing gained?
I think that might be right.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
So if you're brave, that's also a way to do it.
I was also thinking, when you're there, when you're teaching there, for example, from teacher's point of view, typical mistakes of students is something that's always in my mind. Once I've been there for a few weeks, what I typically do is I start writing down the mistakes that they always make, like they always forget to do the EDs, or the sentence structure always is around the wrong way, and I never really think, why do they keep doing that? And then I think, of course, it's a kind of translation from their language to English. So it's really typical.
Common blank errors, whichever country you're in, nationality applies.
Exactly. I always try to do it near the beginning of when I start teaching them, and I make a list of all the mistakes, and then I use that for teaching, and it's really, really useful. It's also probably helps you learn their language as well, because you realise the construction, the order of the words, for example, is different.
If you've got freedom of the curriculum or the course planning, you basically write yourself a little course plan, don't you? Because if you realise that, they're not using auxiliaries or they've got a problem with word order, then you know that's a few lessons that you've got ready to go for the first couple of weeks. So that's really good. I also do idioms, country idioms.
Oh, yes.
Very nice to talk about culturally specific ones and how you translate them, and if there's an equivalent in English. It's really fun.
Actually, it's quite nice doing international ones. So you say, like in Hungary, they say this. In the Czech Republic, they say this. In Italy, they say this. And what do they say in your country? They're really fun. It's like you can get such interesting insights into their culture.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So that was something I was thinking. Typical mistakes, false friends. False friends, do you remember that?
Yeah.
What we talked about it before. You tell me again.
What?
What's a false friend?
A word that you think you know what it means, but it doesn't mean that.
In a
Is that
different
a
language.
definition? I wasn't expecting a test.
Sorry.
Yeah. Can you think of an example, Gav? Back at you.
The one that always sticks in my head is sympathetic or sympathetic.
Good example.
And my students still use it, and it still doesn't mean what I think they think it means.
What do you think they think it means?
Kind.
Oh, and it doesn't mean that.
Not really.
No, it doesn't,
we don't
does
really
it?
use it like that. I just say, I think you're confusing that with sympathetic. But just say somebody's kind. Don't say they're sympathetic, which I think might come from French, Italian, Spanish or something. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So false friends, you get that a lot when you're in another country, when you're teaching abroad. So keep an eye on that.
If you're teaching one nationality.
Oh, yeah. I didn't.
Only time.
God, mixed nationalities. That makes it even more fun. I love it. I love it when the students are from all different backgrounds. That's wonderful fun. I like that. We've mostly talked about from the teacher's point of view. I think we sort of touched on learning abroad if you're a student. Obviously, surrounding yourself with another language is so good. But I know what a lot of my students accidentally do is they go to another country and then they surround themselves by people from their own country. So,
Accidentally.
Oops, I've done it again. And they, they're staying in a house with, they're Turkish, and they're staying in a house with a group of Turkish people. Right. That is not going to help you get out of the little bubble of speaking your own language.
When you're booking it, just think what's going to be best for my English, not I don't know, it's hard because
that's why host families are really good.
Yeah, it is, but you want to have fun and you want to be in that kind of safe space with people you know. And
jump in the deep end, go for it.
Just be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it will help. I agree.
I think so. And being abroad, you're talking about getting on the bus and buying a bus ticket. You're going to the local shop and buying half a pint of soya milk. You're doing real things.
Does it come in half pints?
I don't know. Right. And what else? Something else about students being abroad.
Students being abroad.
I just think you get more of a real experience of that culture. You've got day trips often. You can travel into the city centre. You're just surrounded by the language that you want to learn about.
Good. Yeah.
Unless you've got any more thoughts on teaching and learning in another country.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got the opportunity, I would recommend people...
Gav, that was what I was going to say. If you've got the opportunity. Now, that is quite pertinent at this time.
Yes,
that's positive. So September's coming. Obviously, a new academic year is coming. There'll be this influx of new teachers.
It's a perk of the job, to be honest.
Totally.
For some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you've got anything else to add, I'm going to wrap up.
Okay, Gav. Wrap away.
Okay. All right. Em, as always, cheers, mate.
All righty. Okay, Gav.
And I'll speak to you again next time.
Yeah, we've got to get better at this
Okay,
at the end. Okay.
Thanks to everybody for listening from all the spectrum of the social networks. We would like to hear some of your ideas as well. What are the benefits for you about teaching and learning in another country?
Yeah, and what's the experience been like?
Yes.
Have you had a good experience?
Yes.
Has it been eye-opening?
Was it worth the money?
What were the challenges?
Was it a waste of money?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to know what other people's experiences have been.
Definitely. High five. Cheers. See you later. Bye-bye.